Hi, this is Jana Whitley, author of the Disney Princess Crochet Kit made by Thunder Bay Press. And today I'm going to be demonstrating how to make the Ariel doll using the kit materials. And here's the book. And in section 5, project 5, you'll see the Ariel pattern. That's on page 34. And I've used an office binder clip to hold open the book, because otherwise the binding's thick and the pages are small, so it doesn't really want to lay open on its own. So this clip will help it stay open for me. Also, the text is quite small in the book, so if you're having trouble with it, I recommend going to a copy center and using a copy machine to enlarge the text so that it'll be easier for you. And here are the materials from the kit that you'll be using. You've got your stuffing and your cream yarn, red yarn for the hair, and then you've got light green yarn for the fins and the frill around the waist, and the dark green yarn for the tail. And you'll also need the needle and the red floss for the mouth. And then you've got these safety eyes with the plastic washers that go on those. And these are 12 millimeters. Oh, also, then don't forget the purple yarn. This is for her little bikini top. All right, so first thing you'll want to do is unwind the yarn. So we're going to start with the head, and this is the cream color for the head. So pull this little loop off the top, and you untwist it, and then you'll open it up, and you'll see that it's a big circle of yarn like this. So, and I would recommend winding it into a ball before starting, rather than just pulling it off. I mean, you can just pull it off and get started, but I like to have it in a ball. So before I go, actually, I'm going to show you how to wind this hank of yarn into a ball. So let me see if I can turn this around for you. Hang on. Okay, so I'm going to wind this into a ball. Now, if you've got a friend to hold it like this, that's the best, but I'm just going to put it around my knee, and so it won't get tangled up. And then I grab one of the ends, one of the cut ends, there it is, and I'm going to, let's see, make sure it's going to come undone. Is that going to come undone for me? Yeah, okay. So put that on my knee, and then this is how I start a ball. I'm just going to wrap it around 2 fingers until it's about a ½ an inch thick, and then I slip it off the fingers and keep it pinched, and then I go around the other way, wrap it around the middle. And just kind of wind it back and forth like a bobbin. And it'll start to get more round, kind of like a lemon shape. You can see it's unwinding off my knee. And then occasionally you change the direction of your winding on the ball so that it will form a mostly ball shape. Right now it's kind of like a little lime or lemon. So just keep winding and winding, and then you'll have a nice ball. Okay, so I've got my ball of yarn wound. We're going to be working on Ariel, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make the head some start to finish with the kit yarn, because in the Cinderella head demonstration I used my own worsted yarn. So this one I'll use the kit yarn. I like to just grab a cereal bowl. I like to just grab a round bowl to hold my yarn so it doesn't roll away. And so here is the hook that came with the kit. This is a 3.5 millimeter hook. Sometimes it's called an E-hook. And I'm going to use my own hook. This is a clover hook because it's got a comfort grip and it's specially coated head. So it's more comfortable for me. But it's the same size as this one. And so to get started, you're going to make a slip knot. And so you're going to take so this end here, I call it the tail. And then the yarn that's coming from the ball, we call that the working end, the working yarn. And so to make a slip knot, you're going to make a loop. Take the tail, and then take the working yarn, make a loop, and so it's crossing over the top, and then bring the working yarn under and through the loop, and so now you've got this loop coming through that loop. Pull it tight, so that's a slip knot. And if I pull the tail and the working yarn, it will pop out, disappear. So again, you're going to hold the tail, you're going to make a loop with the working yarn. Now you can also use your hook to just grab and pull the yarn from underneath. It's kind of like a pretzel. You just grab it and pull it, so now it's on the hook. And then you're going to pull the working yarn to snug it up, like so. So that's your slip knot. You always start chains and things with the slip knot. So now we're going to look at the pattern, and it says you can either do a magic loop, or you're going to single crochet 6 in the magic loop, or you can do a chain 2 and single crochet 6 in the second chain from the hook. So now with the hook in my dominant hand, and then I'm right-handed, and then the working yarn, we're going to use the left hand to create tension so that we can manage our stitches. So I like to hold it like this, so imagine like if my hand is a dog and I'm biting the yarn with my pinky, right? And then I bring the working yarn around over the top of my fingers so that my pinky, by moving it and wiggling it, I can actually release and stop and start the yarn. So that's going to help me with my tension. And then I'm going to run it over this index finger, and then by moving this finger that's between the thumb, that creates a space for when I'm yarning over or wrapping the yarn around my hook. Okay, so it takes a while to kind of get the hang of that, and I would recommend if you're very new to crochet, just starting, I would recommend just practicing some chains, which is you're just going to take your hook, pull it, wrap it under, and then let the hook kind of slide along, and you're going to be holding the knot right here with your thumb and middle finger, and then pull that yarn through the other loop and then pop it through. So that's one chain. And the trick is to keep this loop, the working loop that's on the hook, to keep it just loose enough so that the hook can pop, the head of the hook can pop through. But you don't want it super loose because then you get really gappy stitches. But you also don't want it so tight that you can't get it through. So that's another trick, is developing that tension of how big your working loop is. So again, I'm going to yarn over and then pull it through that loop, yarn over, pull it through the loop, yarn over, pull it through the loop. See, now I've got chains, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. And so again, if you're new to crochet, just practice doing that, and practice tensioning the yarn with your non-dominant hand. And if you are left-handed, you can find some good tutorial videos on YouTube about left-handed crochet. Especially, there's one by planetjune.com. That's not on YouTube, but she has her own separate website, and she's got some left-handed videos for different techniques. So and as I pull it through, I'm kind of releasing my pinky to let next little bit of yarn through, and then I'm stretching my finger out to kind of create that space for the next chain. Now I'm going to show you how to do single crochet. So in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to this is just practice. I'm not making the head yet, okay? So here, now it'll say in the second chain from the hook. So this is my working loop, and there's 1 and then 2. There's your second chain from the hook. So I'm going to insert my hook under that first loop, because with the chain, you're just going to use that front loop. Actually, it's the back loop, sorry. Yarn over, and then pull it through just the first, that stitch, right? So now you've got 2 loops on your hook. And let me just adjust this. And then you're going to yarn over again and pull it through both loops. And that's a single crochet. So let's do that again. So I'm going to go through the next chain. So I'm putting my hook through the hole in the chain and yarning over, pulling it through just the stitch so that I still have that first loop and then the second loop. Then I'm going to yarn over again, pull through both. So now I've got 2 single crochets, and you can see that on the top of the stitch it forms this little V shape. So I've got 1, 2. You can see those V shapes. When you're counting your stitches, do not count this loop that's on the hook. Don't count the working loop. So then let's do another one. So put your hook in the chain, yarn over, pull through the first one, yarn over again, pull through both loops on the hook. So there's a third single crochet. And so single crochet really forms the bricks of amigurumi. That's the most used stitch. It's like, if you know how to do single crochet, you can do most amigurumi patterns, because it's just a lot of single crochet over and over. Okay, hang on. All right, so let's that's a little bit of practice. So I'm going to pull these stitches out, and then we're going to start making the head. Okay, so again, we're going to do our slip stitch, or I'm sorry, slip knot. Slip stitch is different than a slip knot, and but we don't need to use that right now. So we're going to do our slip knot, make that loop, grab a hook, pull that loop through. Now grab onto the working yarn and the tail, pull it snug. Okay, and then we're going to grab our working yarn, wrap it around the hand. I'm going to hold the knot with thumb and this index finger and create this space. Think of it like a guitar or a violin. That's like you want to keep that kind of nice and tight there. Okay, and you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go 1, 2 chains. Now you're going to put your hook in the second chain from the hook. So this is the working loop, first chain, second chain, put it in there, and you're going to make 6. So there's 1, 6 single crochet, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm doing these all in the same first hole, so I'm going back into the hole. So again, that one chain is gonna I'm going to keep putting it there. So there's 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6 starts to form this donut. And there's a little bit of a hole, but that's okay, because what we can do later on is use this. Well, actually, I mean, we could, if it was visible, we could take this tail and put the needle on and cinch up this hole. But this is going to be under the hair, so it's we don't have to worry about this little hole. Now at this point, we're going to want a stitch marker, so I'm going to grab a piece of contrasting yarn and make a stitch marker. So what I like to do is, because I've got some of this, I'm going to take some of this dark green yarn and cut about 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches, and then we're going to, I like to lay it across my last stitch of the round, and then just keep crocheting, and that's going to mark my starting place for round 2. So round 2, we're going to single crochet 2 in each single crochet round. So, and that's going to form 12 stitches. So because we have 6, and we're putting 2 single crochets in each of these, so 6 times 2 is 12. So we'll have 12 when we're finished. Now we're going to, if you're having a hard time finding that first stitch, count backwards. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right there is that first first single crochet that you're going to go into. You'll see the V's, right? See all these V's here? Well, let's see. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to want to go and put your hooks under both loops of that single crochet. Because if you use only one loop, that's going to make your crochet work a lot looser. And if you put it through the back loop, it's going to create kind of a ringed effect. So we're going to use both loops. So we're going to put yarn over and pull it through. There's 1. Oops, I forgot to put my stitch marker back in place. Hang on. Let me back up and put my stitch marker there. And I'm going to cinch that up. You can also use, for stitch marker, you could use a stitch marker. You could use a paper clip, or you could use a safety pin, or you could use plastic stitch markers that are sold in craft stores. Okay, so back here, back to that first stitch, we're going to go 1, 2. So there's 2 in the first stitch. Then you're going to go to the next stitch. Put your hook under both. Do a single crochet. There's 1. Insert it into the same stitch again and do a second single crochet. So there's 2 in one stitch. Let's go to the next stitch. Insert under both loops. There's 1. There's 2. Okay, let's do it again. Go under both loops. And then make 1 single crochet, and then again in the same stitch under both loops, second single crochet, and then 1, 2. Okay, now we're almost to the end. So this stitch marker tells me that this is this last stitch in the round. So we go 1, 2. Okay, now we should have 12 around, so let's count. So I'm going to take my hook out of the working loop. I'm going to loosen that up a little. Remember, I don't count the working loop. I count this first V here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. So I've got 12 around. That's the number I need. So we're going to go on to round 3. I'm going to move my stitch marker up. So for round 3, we're going to start a repeating pattern. And what that looks like in round 3 is has a little star or asterisk, and it says single crochet in next single crochet 2 in the next single crochet, and repeat this 6 times. So what this means is we're going to end up with 18 at the end. So I'm going to put my hook under both stitches. I'm going to single crochet in the next single crochet, just one, and then I'm going to put my hook under the next single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 in the same stitch there. So what I've done is create 3 single crochets in the space of 2 beneath it, and that's going to increase by increasing in this way from going to 6 to 12 to 18. It's going to keep my circles getting bigger, but they're all going to create nice flat circles. So again, so I go to the next. So by repeating that pattern, I go in the next stitch. I go just 1 single crochet, and then I go in the next stitch. I go 1 and 2. Sometimes that's called an increase. So again, repeat the pattern. So 1 single crochet in the neck, and then the next one I'm going to increase it by doing 2 single crochets. And then I repeat the pattern, 1 single crochet, and then 2. 1, and then increase. And then finally, we're almost to the end here. There's 1, and then increase. All right, so that's the end of round 3. Let's count, make sure we've got the correct number of stitches. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 stitches, so that's correct. Now, let's say what if you don't have enough? Like, what if you end up with 17? Well, I would just recommend ripping out your stitches back to the beginning of the round, and then going around again and counting carefully as you go, and then seeing if you can't fix that mistake. Or sometimes you can like stretch out your stitches and kind of look and see where if you repeated the pattern correctly. Like, for example, I can see right here I've got 2 of those V's in 1 V in 1 stitch. The next one is just 1 V, and the next one is 2 V's. So I can go around and kind of stretch and see if I can find the mistake. So let's go to round 4. I'm going to move my stitch marker up. Now with round 4, we're going to change the pattern again. It says with a star that signifies that there's a repeat. So the star, single crochet in the next 2 single crochets, single crochet 2 in the next single crochet. So we go 1, 2, and then an increase. So here we go. We're going to go in the first single crochet. We're going to go 1, and then we go in the next single crochet, just 1. And then in the third single crochet, we're going to do an increase, which means 1 and 2 single crochets together in that same stitch. So that's 4 that we've made in 3 stitches below, and 4 times 6 equals 24. So we'll have 24 by the time we get around. So each of these rounds is increasing by 6. We're adding 6 stitches evenly every time we go around. So we're going to repeat that pattern again. We're going to go 1, 2, and then an increase, 2 in the same. So 1, 2, and increase, and 1, 2, and increase, 1, 2, increase. And some patterns you'll actually see that instead of saying single crochet 2 in the next single crochet, it'll just use the INC abbreviation to mean increase. And it's the same thing. So then finally we come to the end. There's 1, 2, and then an increase. Oops, there we go. And we count around. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, move up the marker. And this time we're going to we're going to do round 5, and 5 times 6 is 30. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then increase, which means 4 and 5. So 5 single crochets in the 4 beneath it, and you're just going to repeat that. So single crochet in the next 3 single crochets, and then single crochet 2 in the next single crochet, and repeat it 6 times. Okay, we're getting to the last repeat, and then we go 1, 2, 3, and then on the last stitch in the round, it's an increase, then 1, 2. Okay, so that's 30 around. We're going to move up the stitch marker. This time we're going to single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then single crochet 2 in the next. So that makes 6, a total of 6 in your pattern, 6 in the 5 beneath it. And 6 times 6 is 36 as we repeat around. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 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 and increase. Okay, so there's 36 around, and you'll notice at this point it kind of forms like a 6-sided shape, a hexagon, because the increases are stacked on top of each other. It forms little corners. But that's okay, because once it's stuffed, it'll kind of like a balloon. It blows it into a circle, so you don't have to worry about those little corner edges. Now let's see, we are on rows 7 through 8. Now this is the easy part, because there's no increases, there's no patterns, there's no repeats. You're just going to simply do 2 rounds of single crochet in each single crochet round for 7 and 8. So let's move the stitch marker up, and again, you're always going to go under both loops. Put that hook under both loops and make your single crochet. Make sure you don't miss any as you go around. So this is just repetitive stuff. So as I'm doing this, I want to talk a little bit about the yarn that came in the kit. Now this yarn is a bit thinner than the yarn that I used to make the models that you see in the photos in the book. What I used in the book was a regular worsted weight. You'll see it'll say like number 4. I used Red Heart Super Saver mostly, which is readily available in a lot of American craft stores, like and there's Walmart, Joann, Michael, Hobby Lobby carries Red Heart Super Saver. So those are the yarns I used when I designed these dolls, because there's a lot of colors available, and it's also very inexpensive yarn. So when I made when I started designing these dolls, I sent samples to Thunder Bay Press so that they could match the yarn. However, they special ordered the yarn from China, so it's a little bit lighter weight than this is. I would call this a light worsted, or if you're familiar with in the United Kingdom, they call it a DK or double knit. So it's more of a double knit weight. So it will end up, your doll, if you use the kit yarn, your doll will end up being a little bit smaller than the ones in the book. Also, it might be hard to find an exact match for these yarns since they were specially made. So I would recommend, if you want all 12 dolls to look the same, to go out and buy your favorite worsted yarn so that they're all uniform. Some yarns I really like. Hobby Lobby makes a worsted called I Love This Yarn, and Lion Brand has the Vanna's Choice Solids. Those are good. Michael's Craft Store sells Loops and Threads Impeccable Worsted Solid. It's a really good, sturdy acrylic yarn. So those are some of the yarns that I've used in my dolls that I've made in the past. And I actually have a list of recommended yarns for the dolls that I made in this book, in the Disney Princess Crochet book. If you go to I have a Facebook page called Jana Geek Crochet. So if you go to that Facebook page, and if you scroll through my old posts, I have posted a list of recommended yarns for this book. And so it goes through and details the brands and the colors that I used for every doll. Sometimes it's hard to find different skin tones for dolls. So I've got those all listed. Like, for example, for Mulan, I used Loops and Threads Impeccable and Almond, I think it was. Okay, so it should be 8 rounds. So let's count up. So if you lose count, I go back to the beginning, and you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can count those stacked V's as you go up. So there's 8 rounds. And now the instructions tell me to place a stitch marker at the end of round 8. This is the row where you will place the eyes. So I'm going to take another piece of yarn in a different color to make a marker to tell me where to put my eyes. And I'll switch it with this one, and that'll be right there. Then I'm going for round 9. I will single crochet in the next 4 single crochet, and then I'm going to decrease, and then repeat that 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So now I've been increasing, and then I made 2 rounds at the same size, and now I'm going to decrease to form the top of the ball, or I should say the bottom of the head. So this is the top of the head. Now, before I start decreasing, I want to talk about the right side and the wrong side of crochet. When you first start out crocheting, as you crochet, your hook will be on the opposite side of the work from you, like this, and it'll go round and round. And once it'll start forming a bowl. And once you stop increasing, and if you're just going around in single crochets, it's going to form this bowl. And this is the right side. You'll see the difference. They form little V's. Let's get that really close. So see, each of these stitches is a V. If I go to the wrong side, each stitch has a little crossbar on top, a little straight top to it, and it has 2 little legs. So it looks kind of like the symbol for pi. the 3.14159. So this is the wrong side, and it's important in amigurumi to know the right side and wrong side, because we often stitch in the round, meaning spiral rounds, and sometimes some instructions it's important to have the wrong side. So what you'll want to do is turn it, like if it's like this, you're going to pop it so that as you're working now, the right side is outside and the working loop is closer to you. See, the opposite side is farther away from you. Okay, so let's do our decreases. We're going to do 4 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do a decrease. Now, I recommend learning how to do the invisible decrease because it blends in with the other stitches and gives it the smoothest look. So I mean, you could decrease by just skipping a stitch, but that leaves kind of this ugly little bump there. So another way you could decrease is you could just go through this loop, this single crochet, and this single crochet, and then tie them together. But again, this doesn't look, it looks a little different than the stitches around it. So here's the invisible decrease. What you want to do is you're going to use, this time you're going to use just the front loops. So we're going to put our hook through that front loop only. Let's see if I can get this to focus. There we go, front loop. And then you're going to give your hook a little twist, come down and catch the next front loop of the second single crochet. So now I've got those 2 front loops, right? And I'm going to yarn over, and you're going to keep your tension nice and tight, because otherwise you'll have a loose stitch and it won't match. So yarn over, pull it through just the first 2. So you have two stitches on the hook. Yarn over again, pull through. So that's the invisible decrease. And now you're going to go to this your next single crochet is going to be here. Don't accidentally go in here, because then it won't decrease. So you're going to make sure you go in this one. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do another decrease. So again, we're going to put the hook in the front loop, give it a little twist, come down, twist down, catch that next loop, front loop only. We're going to yarn over, pull it through those 2, yarn over, pull it through both. So there, see how it's, and now it's kind of pinching the stitches together, and it's starting to curve back in to form a bowl shape. So, and then again, we're going to make sure we go in the correct stitch. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and invisible decrease in those front loops, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to put that hook through there, give it a twist, come grab this next front loop, yarn over, pull through those first 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we should have two stitches left when we get to the end of the round. And for our final decrease, put that hook through, grab this next loop, yarn over, pull through. Remember, keep that tension nice and tight, because you don't want your decrease stitch to be looser than the stitches around it. Okay, there we go. So we should have 30 around. You can count, make sure. And again, you want to make sure you've got the wrong side on the inside. And let's continue on. We're going to go to round 10, which is to single crochet in the next 3 and then a decrease. and then by the time we get, and then repeat for six times with 24 at the end. So then we go 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. Oops. Sometimes the yarn splits, and then you have to back up and try again. And 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. And then 1, 2, 3, decrease, and 1, 2, 3, decrease, and 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and then the final decrease will bring us to the end of this round, which is round 10 with 24 stitches around. There we are. It's starting to get smaller, kind of like a little UFO shape or mushroom shape. And so for round 11, we're going to single crochet in the next 2 single crochets and then decrease, and we're going to repeat that 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. So 1 and 2 and you know what? Let me move that out of the way. Let's see. And then decrease. 1, 2, 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 and then we're getting near the end here, last 2 stitches for the decrease. And there's 18. That's how it looks. Okay, so next we've got the instructions tell us to single crochet in the next single crochet and then decrease and repeat that 6 times for 12 stitches. So single crochet and then decrease. This one will go a bit faster because there's a lot fewer stitches. Remember to keep that tension nice and tight for those decreases, because you don't want them to be gappy and showing stuffing through those stitches. And when I say tension, keeping the tension tight, it's kind of like a tug of war between your right and left hand. Like you're keeping it tight. You're pulling this way with your hook, but you're also kind of pulling this way with your fingers to keep that tension tight. And to adjust those loops to be just the right size. Oh, now I've lost track. See, okay, that's single crochet. So next one is invisible decrease. So there's my decrease, and then there's 1, and then finally ending with a decrease. Okay, now we have to make the face and stuff it. So let's kind of pop this out. It says to make the face, insert the eye post between row 8 and 9. Space 6 or 7 stitches apart. Make sure you like the spacing of the eyes before attaching your safety backings under your eye posts. So we're going to use, oh, you know what? Oh, I didn't leave that stitch marker up here like I was supposed to. So I apologize. I didn't do that correctly. I was supposed to leave that one in and use my other stitch marker. So let's just count back using this this guideline here, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So we want between row 8 and 9. I think that's going to be here. Let's see. Let's count and make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is the end of row 8, the beginning row 9. So let's see. Right. So this is where we're going to place our eye. It's right there. I'm going to put a little marker right there. Okay, so I'm gonna grab those. So if you left your marker here and use the second marker, you should have one about right there. We're gonna grab the little eyes in from the kit. Now, if this is gonna be for a really little child, I would recommend not using these plastic bits, because you never know when they can. I mean, they are pretty sturdy. I mean, these, once you put this washer on, those bits aren't coming apart. However, if the yarn comes loose, if somehow it gets cut or chewed or something, if the yarn gets loose enough, this plastic bit will come out, and it could be a choking hazard potentially for little kids. So if this is for a child maybe under the age of 3, don't use the plastic bits. Use, you can just use, I would use black floss and embroider an eye instead. All right, so I'm going to put my eye right there. And just push it in the hole there. There's the inside. And then I'm going to put the next eye about 6 or 7 single crochets apart. So using in the same row, I'm going to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe right there. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see how that looks. So I have to kind of fuss over the eyes, because I mean it really can make it creepy or cute. And some people will actually, before they put the safety backings on, they'll stuff the head with the eyes in, because of course it's going to expand it like a balloon, right? And so then they take the stuffing out. And see if that's where they want it, or they adjust it. So in fact, let's do that, because like I said, this yarn is a little thinner than the yarn that you see in the book pictures. So I'm going to stuff this, and I in the pattern I said to stuff it firmly. I really like to stuff my heads as much as I can. So I just take a bit at a time and kind of I put this in my hand, kind of mold it in as I go, and keep kind of pushing it towards the sides. And don't be afraid to use a lot of stuffing, because the head is the biggest part, right? So you're not good. If you use most of the stuffing for the head, you're not going to run out, because the body only uses a little stuffing. So here we go. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, maybe I want the eyes a little further apart. So I'll take this one out. Let's see if I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe in this next hole here. So yeah, I like that a bit better. And if I got the mouth there, so okay. All right, so now I'm going to pull this stuffing out so that I can put the safety backs on the eyes. Okay, and probably the easiest thing is to turn the whole head, the entire head inside out to put the safety backings on. And that way you can make sure you're not pinching any of the other crochet fabric while you're putting it on. All right, so you're going to turn the disc so that, oops, I dropped it. Where'd it go? All right. All right, so turn the disc so that it's this way as you're putting it on. Okay, so here we go. I'm putting my thumb on the eye and then my other fingers pressing it down. Oh, there we go. And I'm just going to put it in 2 clicks. And here we go. I don't want to put it on all the way because then it's like sometimes that washer will show through a bit on the right side. There we go. So here's the safety bits on the eyes. If you have trouble putting these on, you can grab some tools like some pliers and put them on that way. So I'm going to turn it right side out. And now we're going to do the stuffing, and then we'll do the mouth. So I'm going to turn this right side out. Put that stuffing back in. Let's make sure I get the working yarn out of the way. And I can put the tail end from the beginning tail. Like you can just stuff that right inside. Okay, so let's grab that stuffing and get it back in there. So as I'm putting in, I'm just kind of pushing it toward one side so I can continue to kind of form a hole to put additional stuffing in. And then as it gets more full, I kind of mold my finger around into the empty spots and to make sure it's nice and even so there's no lumpy bits. One concern I've had from a lot of customers, they've said that when they make the hair, it's too big for the head. Like they make the head and then they make the hair, and then the hair is kind of too big, right? And so that's why I recommend really putting as much stuffing in here as you can, because that's how I made my heads for the dolls in the book. It's just really just huge heads because I wanted them to have that, kind of that Japanese Hello Kitty look, with the big heads and the teeny tiny bodies. So just really just stuff this thing as firmly as you could get it. You want it almost as stiff as a golf ball. You don't want this, you don't want squishiness for this head. You want stiffness. And so just keep molding it, kind of pulling the fabric. Okay, and you can kind of pull the eyes where you want them. And this particular kind of stuffing that comes with your kit, it really it's not super springy like most of the time I use Polyfill brand, and it's really bouncy and springy. But this is more this filling is more moldable. Will kind of hold its shape. So, just really, you're gonna mold it and push it. And you can fill it so if you want to fill it so it's not all the way, and then when you do the next round, you can put a little bit more in. Okay, so let's see how this is looking. Okay, so, and you can see, and again, here's the beginning hole. Don't worry about it again, because we're going to be putting that hair over it. The most important part is this here. This is the part that's going to be visible, not covered by hair. Okay, and you can kind of, if the eyes are kind of like cockeyed, it's like sticking in a wonky angle because of the backings, you can kind of mold it. Okay. All right, that's looking pretty good. So we're going to make the mouth now, and we're going to use the needle and the floss. So I'm going to use about 8 inches. And there's our needle. And we're going to do a fly stitch. There should be a diagram in the book. So here's the floss. And you can use all the strands. Don't separate the strands. Okay, there, and then you're going to overlap it about 3 inches there, right? All right, now I'm going to come up. So I want my mouth, if you draw a line connecting the posts of the eyes right in the middle, I want to start my mouth there and then have it come down in a U shape to the next row. So I'm going to bring my needle up right there. I'm just going to leave the tail on the head because that should hold it like that. And then I'm going to come over to this next stitch. I'm going to hold the working thread down here. And then I'm going to come down. I think I'm going to come down right here. Catch that. Well, let's see. Where do I want it? I think maybe right there would be good. So now here. Now I want to make sure this thread is looped underneath my needle before I go through. It's forming a U shape. And then I'm going to pull it down. See, now I've got this U shape with the working thread coming down at the bottom. And if you like that shape, you go, yep, that's great. And then I'm going to insert my needle back right in the same spot that I emerged from. And come out through the hole here, the bottom. There's the fly stitch. Okay, I'm just going to pull that out. Now you can knot it or, fasten it if you want in the back of the work where you can make your knot up here because the hair's going to cover it. But I usually find if this is for like display only and not for a child to play with, I don't worry too much about making knots. Okay, so there's our eyes and mouth and stuffing. So let's go on to round 13, the last round. We're going to decrease 6 times to make a total of 6 stitches. Now this row is going to be a little tricky because this round's going to be a little tricky because you've got that stuffing in that's going to stretch it. It's going to want to stretch it out. So what you can do is, like I said, you can take some, make it so it's not completely full, and then do like half of the round and then stuff it. But I'm just going to take my finger and kind of push the stuffing away to make sure it doesn't get caught in the hook. And then, yeah, let's get started. Where is our first? So remember, make sure you don't go in that same stitch again where you're, sorry, I'm a little off screen there. Okay, so make sure you don't go into this stitch again. See now that the stitch is stretched out, this last invisible I can't talk. This invisible decrease, right? It's stretched out, so don't go in that hole again. We're going to go into this one. We're going to catch that front loop. I'm just going to leave the marker out of the way because it's kind of getting in the way. So here's the front loop, and then the next front loop. Okay, and keeping that tension tight in your left hand, and you're going to pull it through and pull it through again. There's one decrease. Let's make another decrease. Okay, and then another decrease. Okay, and another decrease. Okay, and another one. Okay, I think, let's count and see if we've got enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to do one more decrease. So they have 6 single crochets. Okay. There we go. All right, I probably need to trim these little red bits so they're not showing. All right, so now we're going to fasten off, leaving a long tail. So for sewing, so I'm gonna, maybe do about 12 inches. Cut that, and then I'm gonna pull the working loop out. So grab the loop, working loop, pull it so that the cut end comes through. Now it won't come undone, and you've got your head done.